Welcome back to the deep dive. I am your host, and I'm really excited to get into this one. So I want you to just picture something for a second.
Yeah, setting the scene. I'm your resident expert today, by the way. Ready when you are.
Right. So it's a Tuesday morning. You're rushing around the kitchen, maybe making coffee, trying to find your keys, and there, just sitting in a bowl on the counter, is an orange.
Just a standard, slightly bruised orange.
Exactly. Just a standard bright orange sphere. It's probably been sitting there for 3 days.
It is easily the most ubiquitous and perhaps the most ignored fruit in the world.
It really is. And honestly, it's kind of boring. I think for most of us, the orange is just, it's just background noise.
Yeah.
It's the thing you ate at halftime during soccer games when you were 6 years old. It's the juice you drink when you have a cold because your mom told you it has vitamin C.
Right, the classic immune booster trope.
Or, and this is a big one, if you follow modern diet culture, and I know a lot of you listening are deep in that world, it's the thing you actively avoid.
Yeah.
Because you've been told it's just a sugar bomb wrapped in a peel.
That is the prevailing narrative right now, unfortunately. It's a very binary, almost reductive view.
Very much so.
It's either a basic, slightly outdated immune booster, or it's a metabolic villain because of the fructose content. We've kind of reduced this incredibly complex biological entity into just a carb.
Right. But today, we are going to completely dismantle that narrative.
We really are.
We have a stack of research here, and I mean a serious stack. I'm looking at clinical trials, meta-analyses, scoping reviews, and it all suggests we have been looking at this fruit completely wrong.
We aren't talking about warding off a sniffle here.
No, not at all.
Oh.
We are talking about metabolic programming. We are talking about literally restructuring the liver.
Brain protection?
Brain protection, exactly. And remodeling the actual fats in your blood.
It really is a case of looking past the macronutrients. Looking past the sugar and the carbs and zooming in on the actual pharmacology of the fruit.
The pharmacology, I like that.
Because when you dive into the clinical trials, which is what our mission is today, the orange stops looking like a snack and it starts looking like a very complex, very potent biological tool. It's less like food and more like a gentle daily medical intervention.
A gentle medical intervention. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that framing. So let's set the mission for this deep dive clearly. We aren't just sharing fun facts to use at a dinner party.
But we definitely have a few of those.
Oh, we have plenty of those and I'll be using them. But primarily, we're synthesizing data to answer a single pretty big question. Is the orange just a fruit or is it a pharmacological tool?
And to answer that, we have to look at the data with a very high degree of granularity. We aren't just telling you to eat more fruit.
Right. We're way past that basic advice.
Exactly. We are going to differentiate. So we're looking at a specific study on the Moro blood orange and its unique effects on weight loss.
Which is fascinating.
We also have a randomized trial on whole oranges and how they treat fatty liver disease, specifically MASLD.
And we will definitely unpack that acronym, MASLD, because it's a mouthful, and I want to make sure everyone understands exactly what that means.
It's crucial context. We also have a really fascinating look at the plasma lipidome. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the research stack we pulled for today.
The lipidome, it sounds like a sci-fi Thunderdome for fat.
In a way, it kind of is. It explores the entire universe of fats in your blood after drinking orange juice. We also have a massive scoping review on inflammation markers, specifically IL-6.
And finally, some very practical health insights on anemia, pregnancy, and cancer prevention that I genuinely think will change how you plan your daily meals. So buckle up. We are going to look at the bioactive side of the fruit. We'll be throwing around words like hesperidin and anthocyanins, but do not worry. We're going to break them down so you understand exactly what they are doing to your cells.
Shall we start with the liver?
Let's start with the liver. Because out of all the papers we reviewed for this deep dive, this was the study that really just stopped me in my tracks. This is section 1, the liver reset.
This comes from a study by Notre Nicola and colleagues. It was published very recently, in 2024. And it addresses a condition that is becoming incredibly common. It's almost a silent epidemic.
Yeah.
Metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD.
Okay, let's pause on that name for a second, because most people listening probably know this simply as fatty liver disease. Why the rebrand?
That's right. It was previously known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. The medical community changed the name to be more precise and, frankly, a bit less stigmatizing,
That makes sense.
but also to reflect the root cause. The term metabolic dysfunction associated tells you exactly why it's happening.
Right.
It's a buildup of excess fat in the liver cells that is not caused by alcohol, but is usually tied to obesity, insulin resistance, and general metabolic chaos in the body.
And this is serious stuff. This isn't just, oh, I have a little extra weight around my middle. This is your primary filtration organ.
Your body's chemical factory.
Exactly, and it's getting clogged with grease.
The liver is incredibly resilient, but when it becomes steatotic, that is, filled with fat, it stops functioning optimally. It can lead to systemic inflammation, scarring, and eventually failure.
And usually the prescription for this is pretty standard, right? If you go to a doctor with a fatty liver, what do they tell you?
Lose weight, cut your calories, go on a diet.
That is always the answer.
That is the gold standard. And to be fair, it works. If you lose weight, the fat typically leaves the liver. But this study by Notar Nicola wanted to ask a completely different question.
Which I love.
They wanted to see if the orange itself could do the heavy lifting independent of weight loss. Can you fix the organ without actually shrinking the person?
So walk us through the setup. What did they actually do to these participants?
They recruited a group of 62 men and women, aged 30 to 65. And these were people who had already been formally diagnosed with MASLD.
So they weren't just guessing.
No, they used a fiber scan, it's a specialized ultrasound, to measure the controlled attenuation parameter, or CAP. Basically, they measured exactly down to the decibel how fatty their livers were at the very start of the trial.
And then they put them on this orange regimen.
A very rigorous one.
Yeah.
The treatment group had to consume 400 grams of whole oranges every single day for 4 weeks.
I really want to contextualize 400 grams for everyone listening. A standard orange is maybe, what, 130 to 150 grams?
Depending on the size, yes.
So we are talking about roughly 3 large oranges a day, every single day.
It is a significant amount of fruit. That's a lot of fiber.
That's a lot of chewing. That is a serious daily commitment to citrus.
It is. And here is the truly crucial part of the study design. The control group wasn't just fasting, and they weren't eating cardboard. They were eating non-citrus fruits.
Oh, that is so interesting. So they were still getting fruit sugar, they were still getting fruit fiber, but absolutely no citrus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The researchers wanted to isolate the orange factor, not just the general fruit factor. They wanted to know if there was something specific in the citrus matrix that heals the liver, distinct from just eating, say, apples or pears.
And the results?
Frankly, they were shocking. After just 4 weeks, which is a blink of an eye in metabolic terms, the group eating the oranges saw a 30% reduction in the prevalence of liver disease.
Wow.
Specifically, the steatosis. The actual fat retention in the liver cells decreased significantly.
30% in 4 weeks. That is incredibly fast for an organ to heal. Usually we think of liver regeneration taking months, if not longer.
It is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
But here's the critical nuance that makes this study so important, and really the aha moment for me. This liver improvement happened without weight loss.
Wait, really? Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. They ate 3 oranges a day, they didn't lose any weight, but their liver got skinnier.
Precisely. The participants' body weight, their waist circumference, and even their insulin levels remained statistically unchanged.
That is wild.
Usually to fix a fatty liver, you absolutely need to see those numbers drop. The dogma is that visceral fat and liver fat go hand in hand.
Right.
But here, the fruit itself seemed to perform a biochemical intervention directly on the organ.
That blows my mind. Because the narrative we are always fed is calories in, calories out. If you want to fix your metabolic health, you have to shrink. You have to be in a deficit.
Always.
But this suggests you can improve actual organ health while staying the exact same size. It's totally decoupling internal health from external size.
It challenges the dogma completely. And we have to ask the mechanism, right? How did it do this? If it wasn't a calorie deficit because their caloric intake remained the same, or maybe even went up slightly due to eating 3 whole fruits, what was doing the work?
Well, the study points to the nutrient profile, right? It's not magic, it's chemistry.
It is pure chemistry. When they analyzed the dietary intake, the orange group had a massive spike in specific nutrients. Vitamin C, obviously, but also vitamin A, thiamine, which is vitamin B1, and riboflavin.
And these aren't just vitamins for the sake of checking a box on a nutrition label. These play a direct role in liver function.
They absolutely do. The liver uses these specific vitamins as cofactors for the enzymes that break down fat. But the researchers believe it's actually the phytochemicals acting as what they call an adjunct treatment.
What does that mean in practice?
It suggests that the bioactive compounds in the whole fruit, and again, the study highly emphasizes whole fruit here, enhance the liver's natural ability to process and clear fat. It's essentially giving the liver the specific tools it needs to clean house, even if the rest of the body isn't shedding pounds.
It's almost like the orange is a specialized cleaning crew you hire for your liver. You don't have to move out of the house, which would be losing weight for the cleaning crew to come in and scrub the floors.
That is a fantastic analogy. The house is still the exact same size, but the kitchen is suddenly spotless.
Right.
And this brings up the issue of steatosis versus fibrosis. The study noted that while the fat decreased, there weren't significant changes in fibrosis in that short 4-week window.
Fibrosis being scarring, right. Which makes sense. Scars take a long time to fade.
Exactly. Scar tissue takes much longer to heal.
Yeah.
But seeing a rapid reduction in fat specifically is a huge win for metabolic health, because the fat is what causes the inflammation that leads to the scarring in the first place.
You're putting out the fire before it burns the house down.
Exactly. And they measured a specific enzyme to track this stress, GGT.
Plasma gamma glutamyl transferase.
Yes, GGT is a key marker of liver stress. If your GGT is high, your liver is crying for help. It means cells are damaged or under severe pressure, and levels of GGT decrease significantly in the orange group.
So biologically, the liver was under measurably less stress.
Measurably less.
So we have this incredible finding. You eat the whole fruit, fiber and all, and your liver starts dumping fat. But I know exactly what you listening at home are asking. Okay, my liver is happy, but I still have this spare tire around my waist.
The vanity metric.
Well, it's a health metric too, but yes, vanity plays a role. The orange group in that liver study didn't lose any weight.
They did not. Which leads us perfectly into section 2 of our deep dive. Because while the standard orange helped the liver without weight loss, there is a very specific type of orange that seems to target the waistline specifically.
The Moro factor.
The Moro factor. This brings us to a fascinating study by Cardile and colleagues investigating the Moro orange.
Now, for anyone who hasn't seen a Moro orange, describe it, because this is not your standard navel orange you buy in a plastic mesh bag at the supermarket.
No, not at all. The Moro is a cultivar of the red or blood orange. It is grown primarily in Sicily, very often right around the base of Mount Etna.
Very dramatic. Volcanic soil. I feel like the terroir really matters here.
It absolutely matters. The environment dictates the chemistry. These oranges grow in an area with a high diurnal temperature variation, meaning very hot days and very cold nights.
Plus the volcanic soil.
Right. That environmental stress causes the fruit to produce specific protective compounds to survive. Visually, the flesh inside isn't orange. It's a deep, rich, ruby red. Sometimes it's almost purple. And that dramatic color is the primary clue.
Anthocyanins.
Anthocyanins. These are powerful pigments and antioxidants that you typically find in dark berries. Think blueberries, blackberries. But in the citrus world, the Moro is the absolute king of anthocyanins.
And it has other compounds too, right?
Yes, it's also incredibly rich in hydroxycinnamic acids, flavonoglycosides, and ascorbic acid.
It sounds like a complex chemical cocktail.
It is a naturally occurring pharmaceutical cocktail. So the study by Cardile wanted to see if this specific red cocktail could tackle obesity.
And they used an extract for this trial, right? They didn't make people peel and eat blood oranges all day.
Right. They used a Moro juice extract called Morosil. The dosage was 400 milligrams per day. They recruited overweight but otherwise entirely healthy volunteers and followed them for 12 weeks.
And unlike the whole orange liver study, these people actually did see physical changes.
Significant physical changes. The results showed a reduction in body mass index, or BMI, starting after just 4 weeks. But by the end of the full 12 weeks, the difference was stark.
What were the numbers looking like?
The Moro group had highly significant reductions in body weight, waist circumference, and hip circumference compared to the placebo group.
So let's just pause and contrast this with the previous study. Standard whole oranges, great for the liver, 0 weight loss. Moro orange extract, significant weight loss and waist reduction. Why the massive difference? Is the Moro orange just inherently better?
It's not about better or worse, it's about specificity. It suggests a really fascinating biological synergy. The Cardile study concludes that the active compounds in the Moro juice, specifically those anthocyanins found in the red pigment, have a very targeted effect on adipocytes.
Adipocytes being fat cells.
Yes, it seems to actively inhibit the body's ability to store fat, or perhaps it encourages the burning of stored fat, specifically in those stubborn areas like the waist and hips.
So the anthocyanins are basically telling the fat cells to unlock the doors and let the energy out.
Essentially, yes. They modulate the actual gene expression related to fat storage. The standard blonde orange doesn't have these anthocyanins, so it works on the liver through its vitamins and flavonoids. But the Moro has the anthocyanins, so it targets the adipose tissue.
So it's not just a generic, oh, fruit is good. It's exactly which fruit are you eating.
Exactly. It really highlights that an orange isn't just an orange. The specific variety matters. The phytochemical profile dictates the physiological response.
I love that concept. It's like choosing a character class in a video game. I'll take the blood orange for the agility and weight loss buff, and I'll take the navel orange for the constitution and liver buff.
In a way, yes. Nutrition is so often painted with such a broad brush. Eat your fruits and vegetables. But when you drill down into the clinical data, you find these incredibly specific mechanisms.
Yeah.
If you want liver support, the high vitamin C and specific flavonoids of the standard orange are your best friend. If you want weight management, the anthocyanins in the red orange seem to be the key lever to pull.
It makes you wonder how much therapeutic benefit we are missing out on just by buying whatever generic fruit is on sale at the grocery store.
We miss the medicinal specificity of nature all the time.
Okay, so we have covered whole fruit and we've covered extracts. Now we have to address the elephant in the room. The absolute villain of the modern diet world, juice.
The sugar water debate.
Right, because if you go on social media right now, any health guru will tell you, do not drink your calories. Orange juice is just soda with a vitamin pill crushed into it. It spikes your insulin.
It's a very loud narrative.
And honestly, it makes intuitive sense. You remove the fiber from the fruit, you're basically just left with the sugar, right? It feels obvious that this would be bad for your metabolic health.
It makes sense on a surface level. Juice lacks the structural fiber, so the sugar hits the bloodstream faster than if you ate the whole fruit. That is a physical reality. However, human biology is rarely that simple.
Right.
We have a study here by Dos Santos and colleagues, and the title is Orange Juice Intake by Obese and Insulin-Resistant Subjects Lowers Specific Plasma Triglycerides.
The title alone kind of ruins the whole juice is bad narrative.
It complicates it beautifully because this study took participants who are already obese and already insulin resistant.
Yeah.
These are the exact people you would typically tell to absolutely avoid juice at all costs.
Right, these are the people you would think would get so much worse. If sugar is the ultimate enemy, giving fruit juice to insulin-resistant people sounds like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Exactly. But they had them drink 400 milliliters of Pera orange juice every day for 15 days. Pera is a specific sweet orange variety that is very common in Brazil.
And 400 milliliters, that is a decent-sized glass. It's not a little sip. That's a large tumbler. That's probably around 40 grams of sugar.
Right around that, yes.
Oh.
Now, based on the sugar water theory, you'd expect their insulin resistance to skyrocket, their triglycerides to go through the roof, and their overall metabolic health to just crash. You would expect massive inflammation.
But that is not what happened.
Not at all. In fact, their diastolic blood pressure dropped significantly. But the real magic, the really fascinating data, was in the blood lipid profile. And this is where we get to geek out on lipidomics.
I love that word so much. Lipidomics. It sounds like a futuristic cyberpunk city. Welcome to lipidomics.
It's the study of the lipidome, the entire complex universe of lipid species in your body. When you go to the doctor, we usually just measure total triglycerides or LDL or HDL.
Right, the basic panel.
But that's like looking at a massive forest and just saying, yep, those are trees.
Yeah.
Lipidomics looks at every single leaf, every specific species of tree, the exact health of the bark, everything.
It is high-definition blood work.
Exactly. They identified 316 distinct lipid molecules in the participants' plasma. And after just 15 days of drinking orange juice, 37 specific triglyceride species decreased.
Wait, they drank straight sugar and their fat went down.
Specific fats went down. And this is where the chemistry gets really interesting. The juice specifically altered triglycerides that contain oleic and linoleic acid chains.
Okay, translate that for us. What does that mean for the listener who isn't a biochemist? Why do we care about oleic and linoleic chains?
It means the actual quality of the fat in their blood changed. It wasn't just about the total volume of fat, it was about the composition. The juice seemed to actively remodel the lipid profile to a healthier state.
That's incredible.
It suggests that the bioactive compounds in the juice, the flavonoids, the soluble vitamins, are interacting with lipid metabolism in a way that completely overrides the simple sugar content.
So the juice is just sugar narrative fails because it totally ignores the hundreds of other complex chemicals in the juice.
Exactly. It ignores the biological context. The juice is a matrix of compounds. It contains flavonoids like hesperidin and norrutin. These compounds literally talk to your liver and your fat cells. The study concluded that this juice intake actually protects against insulin resistance rather than causing it.
That is such a crucial point. We tend to be so reductionist in nutrition. We say sugar is bad, therefore anything with sugar is automatically bad. But nature packages that sugar with specific instructions on how the body should use it.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The flavonoids are the instructions.
But there was a catch in the study, right? Not everyone had the exact same result.
Ah, yes. The high responders. This is where it gets really personal and really fascinating.
I found this part so interesting. Tell us about the high responders.
The data showed a very strong individual trend. Some people, the high responders, saw massive immediate benefits. We were talking about drops in systolic blood pressure of over 10 millimeters of mercury.
That is comparable to taking a mild prescription blood pressure medication?
It really is. They also saw a weight loss of nearly 1 kilogram in just 2 weeks, and they had the most significant drops in those specific triglycerides.
And the other participants didn't see that much change.
Others saw much less. They maintained their weight, or they saw only minor improvements in their lipids. This heavily implies a genetic or metabolic component to how well we individually process citrus.
So our bodies react differently.
Yes, your body might be genetically primed to utilize these compounds efficiently. Maybe your specific gut microbiome absolutely loves hesperidin, while your neighbor's body might just process it as standard sugar.
Which brings us back to that idea of personalized nutrition. You might just be a citrus responder.
It's very likely. We are rapidly moving away from the one-diet-fits-all model. And right now, the only way to know isn't a genetic test, at least not yet. It's to try it and monitor your own biomarkers. But the main takeaway here is that for the group as a whole, the juice improved the lipid profile. It did not destroy their metabolism.
So if you love orange juice, you don't necessarily have to give it up, but you should probably pay attention to how you feel and maybe keep an eye on your blood pressure.
Exactly. Be your own scientist.
Okay, so we have covered the liver, we've covered targeted weight loss with the Moro orange, and we have busted the juice myth regarding blood fats. But there is another major player in the chronic disease game. Maybe the biggest player of all. Inflammation.
The silent killer.
A bit dramatic, but true. And this is where we finally get to fully introduce the secret ingredient of our deep dive. Hesperidin. We've mentioned it a few times in passing, but let's give it its moment in the spotlight.
Hesperidin is the unsung hero of the entire citrus world. It is a polyphenol that is almost entirely exclusive to citrus fruits. You aren't going to find meaningful amounts of it in apples or bananas or grapes.
And where specifically in the orange is it located? Because I have a sinking feeling I have been throwing it in the trash my entire life.
You almost certainly have. It is most highly concentrated in the albedo.
The albedo.
The white stuff.
That's
the
it.
pith, the spongy white layer between the outer peel and the juicy fruit that everyone meticulously picks off because it's slightly bitter.
Oh, guilty as charged. I hate the white stuff. I literally spend 10 minutes peeling every single strand off before I eat it.
Well, stop peeling it off.
Yeah.
That is where the absolute gold is.
Yeah.
That slight bitterness you taste is the hesperidin itself. Interestingly, commercial orange juice actually contains a pretty decent amount of hesperidin.
Really? How?
Because the industrial squeezing process is so forceful, it presses some of that oil and pith directly into the juice. When we squeeze oranges by hand at home, we tend to be far too gentle.
So store-bought juice might actually be better for hesperidin intake than hand-squeezed.
In some specific cases, yes, purely because of the immense pressure used in commercial extraction.
Okay, so what does hesperidin actually do in the body? We have a meta-analysis here by Kara and colleagues regarding inflammation markers.
This was a very robust review. They looked at 21 different studies involving over 600 participants. They were specifically looking for changes in markers of systemic inflammation and oxidative stress.
And the big marker they focused on is IL-6.
Interleukin-6. IL-6 is a cytokine. It's a signaling protein that your body uses to ramp up inflammation. It's completely necessary for fighting infection. If you cut your finger, you want IL-6 to show up and trigger the healing response.
Which you don't want it sticking around.
Exactly. Chronically high IL-6 is linked to almost everything bad. Heart disease, autoimmune issues, depression. It's that constant low-grade feeling of being inflamed.
And what did the orange juice do to IL-6 levels in these studies?
Consuming 100% orange juice significantly reduced IL-6 levels across the board.
Significantly.
Yes. The pooled net difference was statistically significant. It strongly suggests that orange juice acts as a potent systemic anti-inflammatory agent. It literally calms the immune system down.
That is huge because so many people are walking around with low-grade chronic inflammation every single day. They feel puffy, they feel tired, they feel achy.
And the juice helps dial that baseline down. They also looked at other markers in the review. There were clear trends toward lowering hsCRP, which is C-reactive protein, and MDA,
What is MDA?
malondialdehyde. It's a key marker of oxidative stress. Basically, it measures how much your cells are resting from the inside. While those specific reductions weren't as statistically strong as the massive IL-6 reduction, the overall trend was consistently downward.
And this anti-inflammatory effect is largely attributed to the hesperidin.
Hesperidin appears to be the primary driver, yes. Another review we looked at by Tadros and colleagues noted that the dosage really matters here. Higher frequency and higher concentration of hesperidin in the juice were linked to much better outcomes, not just for inflammation, but for cognitive function and cardiac health.
Cognitive function, so it helps the brain too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the absolute frontier of citrus research right now. Hesperidin can actually cross the blood-brain barrier.
Which is not an easy thing for a molecule to do.
No, the brain is a fortress. It keeps most things out. But hesperidin gets in. It has profound neuroprotective properties. It helps protect delicate neurons from oxidative damage and neuroinflammation.
Wow.
There are even studies suggesting it actively promotes blood flow to the brain, which is crucial for maintaining focus and memory as we age.
So brain food isn't just walnuts and wild-caught salmon anymore, it's oranges.
It absolutely is.
This feels like a really perfect segue. We have been very deep in the molecular weeds for a while now. Lipidomes, cytokines, fibrosis. I want to zoom out a bit. What does all this mean for daily life? We have some incredibly great insights here from Dr. Bartek Kulczycki, who breaks down the practical day-to-day health benefits.
Dr. Kulczycki brings all this dense biochemistry into the real world beautifully. He highlights things that affect millions of people every single day, starting with anemia.
This one is very personal to me because I know so many people, especially women, who really struggle with their iron levels. They take the expensive supplements, they eat bowls of spinach, but the blood numbers just do not budge.
And that is the fundamental problem with plant-based iron, also known as non-heme iron. It is notoriously difficult for the human digestive tract to absorb. You might eat a massive bowl of lentils rich in iron, but your body might only actually take in a few percent of it.
It's like the door to the cell is locked. The iron knocks, but nobody answers to let it in.
Exactly. Vitamin C is the key that unlocks that door. And not just vitamin C isolated in a pill, but the actual matrix of the fruit plays a huge role too. Dr. Kulczycki points out that vitamin C increases the absorption of non-heme iron by up to 300%.
300%. 3 times the absorption. That is literally the difference between chronic anemia and vibrant health.
Yes. Biochemically, it converts the iron from a ferric state into a ferrous state. The ferrous state is soluble and can actually pass through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream.
So the actionable tip here is pretty clear.
It is non-negotiable. If you are eating a meal with plant-based iron beans, lentils, spinach, tofu, or if you are taking an iron supplement pill, you must pair it with an orange or a glass of orange juice.
Do not take your iron pill with your morning coffee.
Never. Coffee and tea contain tannins and polyphenols that actively inhibit iron absorption. It locks the door even tighter. Take it with orange juice. It changes the bioavailability completely.
Okay, next practical benefit from Dr. Kulczycki. Pregnancy.
This is critical. One single orange provides about 20% of the daily requirement for folate, or vitamin B9.
And folate is the big one for preventing neural tube defects.
Spina bifida, exactly. It's absolutely essential for the developing nervous system of the fetus. But Dr. Kulczycki emphasizes a point that is so often missed in public health messaging. You need this folate before you even know you are pregnant.
Right, because the neural tube forms in the very, very first few weeks of gestation.
Often before a woman has even missed a period or realizes she is pregnant. So for anyone in the planning phase, oranges should be an absolute daily staple.
Just a baseline habit.
Right. And he notes that officially, folic acid supplementation is still recommended by doctors because it's just so critical to get enough. But the orange is the best possible dietary source to support that healthy baseline. It's nature's original prenatal vitamin.
Now let's talk about the scary stuff, cancer. Dr. Kulczycki shared some statistics in his review that were pretty jaw-dropping regarding risk reduction.
These numbers come from massive epidemiological studies. This means looking at large populations over long periods of time and tracking what they eat versus what diseases they eventually get. Now, as always, correlation isn't causation, but the associations here are incredibly strong.
What are the numbers?
Regular citrus consumption is linked to a 37% risk reduction in esophageal cancer.
37%. That is massive. That's well over a third.
It is huge. Stomach cancer, a
Yeah.
20% reduction. Bladder cancer, 23%. Pancreatic cancer, 17% risk reduction.
Why? What is the biological mechanism there? Is it just the antioxidants again?
It's the full combination. The antioxidants like vitamin C actively protect DNA from free radical damage. And remember,
Yeah.
mutations start in the damaged DNA.
Right.
The flavonoids, like our friend hesperidin, significantly reduce systemic inflammation, which is a known precursor to almost all cancers. And then there's the alkalizing effect.
Wait, alkalizing? Oranges taste extremely acidic. They are full of citric acid. It literally burns if you get the juice in a paper cut.
They are definitely acidic on the tongue. But once they are fully metabolized by the body, the specific minerals left behind actually have an alkalizing effect on the urine and the overall system.
Which connects directly to kidney stone.
Precisely. Kidney stones, specifically calcium oxalate stones, which are the most common, very often form in highly acidic urine. By making the urine more alkaline, the citrates in the orange prevent the stones from crystallizing and forming in the first place.
That is a brilliant counterintuitive fact. If you are prone to kidney stones, you actually want more citrus, not less.
Correct. Specifically lemon and orange. It changes the pH of the urine to a protective state.
Okay, one more from the practical benefits list. The brain, specifically regarding dementia.
Dr. Kulczycki references a really compelling Japanese study. They tracked an older population and found that frequent citrus consumption reduced the overall risk of developing dementia by 18 to 23%.
That is almost a quarter reduction in risk just from eating fruit.
It connects right back to what we discussed earlier, hesperidin actively protecting the nervous system from inflammation. Plus, the folate in the orange helps reduce homocysteine levels in the blood, which are known to be highly toxic to brain tissue. It's a full system protection package.
So we have this incredible, undeniable list of benefits. Liver repair, targeted fat remodeling, systemic inflammation reduction, cancer prevention, brain protection. But we have to enter the final showdown. Section 6. Whole fruit versus juice. The final verdict.
This is the exact dilemma every single consumer faces standing in the grocery store aisle.
If I want to be optimally healthy, do I buy the heavy bag of oranges or do I just grab the carton of juice? I can already hear the arguments forming in my head.
Well, let's look at the scoreboard purely based on the clinical evidence we've reviewed today.
Okay, let's start with team juice. What are the pros?
Juice is absolutely excellent for the rapid, efficient absorption of hesperidin. As we saw in the lipidome study with the Brazilian juice, it was highly effective at lowering blood pressure and actively remodeling those specific triglycerides.
It's fast acting.
It's convenient, and you can get a very high therapeutic dose of bioactives quickly. If you need to rapidly lower inflammation, say post-workout, juice acts fast.
What?
But it lacks fiber, and fiber is the great metabolic regulator.
So let's look at team whole fruit.
A standard whole orange contains about 5 grams of dense dietary fiber. A glass of juice has almost 0. Fiber physically slows down the absorption of the fructose, which prevents those sharp insulin spikes.
It feeds the gut too.
It perfectly feeds the gut microbiome. And, crucially, it provides real satiety. You feel physically full after eating 2 whole oranges. You do not feel full after drinking a glass of juice.
And the fatty liver study, the one that showed a 30% reduction in liver fat that explicitly used whole fruit.
It did. 400 grams of whole fruit daily. They were getting all that incredible fiber. And realistically, that might be exactly why they didn't gain weight despite the high fruit intake.
Because they were too full to eat junk.
Exactly. The fiber likely mitigated the caloric impact and kept them so satiated that they naturally ate less of other things.
So if you had to synthesize a final recommendation for the listener.
The healthier option, generally speaking for the average person, is the whole fruit. You get the fiber, the satiety, and the profound liver benefits. One single orange gives you 130 milligrams of vitamin C. That is more than you'd get from 2 entire kilograms of bananas. It's an absolute nutrient bomb.
But we absolutely shouldn't demonize the juice.
No, we shouldn't.
Wow.
That is the necessary nuance here. The data on slashing inflammation, that IL-6 drop, and the blood lipid remodeling, that all came from juice studies.
Right.
If you're an active person, or if you don't have severe blood sugar issues, high-quality 100% orange juice is a deeply potent anti-inflammatory drink. It's not just sugar water. It is a highly evolved bioactive delivery system.
So maybe the best answer is, Eat the whole fruit for daily metabolic maintenance and liver health. Drink the juice in moderation for targeted inflammation and lipid support, perhaps right after a heavy workout.
That is a very scientifically sound, balanced approach. And of course, if you can actually find the Moro blood orange at your local market, prioritize it if targeted weight management is your primary goal.
I love that. So let's wrap this up. We started this deep dive with this simple, boring orange sitting on a breakfast plate.
And we ended up with a liver healing, fat restructuring, inflammation-fighting pharmacological tool.
Let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways for the listener who is probably about to run to the grocery store right now.
Takeaway 1. If you want to lose stubborn weight, specifically look for the Moro or red oranges. The anthocyanins in the red pigment are the key to unlocking the fat cells.
Takeaway 2.
If you're worried about fatty liver, or MASLD, commit to eating whole oranges. The fiber combined with the specific vitamins seems to actively clean the liver fat out, even without a caloric deficit or weight loss.
Takeaway 3.
Do not fear the juice if you want to lower systemic inflammation, specifically IL-6, or if you want to improve your blood lipid quality. But just be mindful of the portion size.
And takeaway 4.
Always pair your iron-rich, plant-based foods with citrus. It is an absolute non-negotiable for proper absorption.
And hesperidin is the smart name to drop at your next dinner party.
Hesperidin is the MVP of this whole deep dive. And please, eat the white stuff.
Stop peeling it off. I want to end with a thought you mentioned earlier about those high responders in the lipidome study.
Yes, this is really the final provocative thought I want to leave the listener with. The lipidome study clearly showed that some people, the high responders, saw their blood pressure drop by over 10 points, and they lost weight just by adding juice to their diet. But others didn't have that dramatic reaction.
So the question is, are you a high responder?
Exactly. That is the question. We are rapidly moving toward an era of true bio-individuality. The only way to know how you react isn't just to eat the orange blindly, but to actually listen to your body.
Test it out.
Monitor your blood pressure. See how your joints feel. In the very near future, your doctor might not just say, hey, eat more fruit. They might look at your chart and say, based on your specific lipid profile, you need pure orange juice, but your wife needs Moro extract.
That is a truly fascinating future, literally prescribing specific fruit based on the exact composition of your blood fats.
It's exactly where the science is heading.
Well, until that day comes, I think I'm going to go to the kitchen and finally peel that orange on the counter, and I'll make sure to eat the albedo.
I will join you.
Thank you so much for listening to The Deep Dive. We really hope you look at the produce aisle just a little bit differently today, not just as a place to buy food, but as a genuine pharmacy. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.